In a fast-moving world, in the world of media, some things are just timeless. I'm talking everything from the iconic legacy of Playboy down to this woman's timeless, gorgeous boobs that had me memorize in said publication. I'm so excited about this, you guys. This has been a long time coming. And today you have generations apart of the greatness that is Playboy, as I am joined by iconic Playmate cover girl, Miss December 82, also author of the book Centerfold. Help me in welcoming Miss Charlotte Kemp. Miss Charlotte Kemp, you're not just my Miss December 82, you can be my Miss all year round, because you're, like I said, your gorgeous photos, like I said, are that timeless. So welcome to the show. We have much to discuss. I'm so excited. Deemed the Celebrity Whisperer by Playboy.
This is the best interview of the day.
Thanks for having me.
You hit the nail on the head.
100%.
Period, yeah.
Touchdown. You're cracking me up.
Wear them, baby.
This is good.
Taylor Ferber.
Wow, that's quite a introduction, but thank you.
Well, we have been playing a little bit of you guys listening and watching. We have been going back and forth about this for months in our schedule, even tech issues to the very end. But you know what? They can't keep us bunnies down. And here we are. So we're going in with a bang because it's trying to, not make it happen.
I mean,
What's that?
can't keep these boobs down, huh?
No, ma'am. Absolutely not. So you have, just to give a little bit of both of our backgrounds. Let's do a little show for show, shall we? This was my issue of Playboy. I know you have some of your work on hand in the iconic 80s and 90s, of course, like peak Playboy, some would say.
Yeah, this was the cover, and then my centerfold is, well, where is it?
Angel is a centerfold. Well, Charlotte, while you find that,
And that song, everywhere I go into that people know I'm a Playmate, they sing that song. And I'm always like, they,
I would wear it as a badge of honor, and
yeah, but when I was younger, it was like every place played
like
that.
it's played out.
Oh, God, you're killing me here.
Well, to give a little bit of background, these angels are going to be your centerfold today, guys, for your eyes and your ears. So here we go. Oh my God. See what I'm saying? I don't know if we can show that on YouTube, but whatever, YouTube is shook. How gorgeous. Like I'm saying, when I think iconic Playboy, I mean, Charlotte, that is your photos. Like, look at your centerfold. I'm trying to find mine right now. So for those of you who don't know,
I didn't like is I had my hair up, and it was like Pat Benatar days, and they had my hair up in this side thing, and I was like, I've never worn my hair like that in my life,
Well, we're going to talk all about the male and female gaze, because what is so funny is I had qualms with my shoot as well, even though this was a lifelong dream come to fruition. I was like, how did they do me like that? But before we get there, so you obviously, I mean, you've been in like countless issues on the cover, centerfold. You've been in, dozens of countries. My Playboy background, I was a writer contributor. I pitched a feature in which I and 5 other female writers both posed and wrote issues on free expression, really advocating for the idea that we can be intellects and intelligent and also sexualize ourselves and be little pinups. So I was featured in the masthead of this issue.
And by you saying that, it's actually saying that, people saying that we are, oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So this is the playbill.
But, the thing is that, people think, girl next door, no intellect, but great body. And,
Exactly.
and I think that the more of us, talk out and say, we weren't just expendable or, everything. It's a whole thing. I mean, that A&E thing really got a lot of.
I want to talk about that. And that is really captures, I love what you said, the essence of what I was doing here. Here's just one pic, which we emulated. I think it was at a classic cover from the 70s. And that's me with the phone. It was a 6-page spread here. So, and
Yeah.
that's the idea, Charlotte, is that not just that, it's not just to be, as you said, discarded or looked at, but the beauty and the power
That's
in
what my
both.
That's what
Love
my
it.
cover.
Yes. Like the power in that moment of putting your sexuality and beauty on full display, and your thoughts and your brains and what you have to offer there. So, not just it's like the embodiment of both things come together, right? And the power in that as women versus being boxed as one or the other. So with
Well,
that,
I mean, I think my Sally Jesse Raphael had just come on in Detroit, and that was one of my very first talk shows. And there were a lot of women there, and they were like attacking me. And I said, you know what? No one had to talk me into this. This is what I wanted to
yes.
do. And I kept everything. I mean, she kept on, people were just like firing like nasty comments. And I was like, well, if that's what you think, I kept very, very, very monotone. I didn't get like upset or, anything else. I had to keep it together because these women were just like, attacking me. And I was like, I chose to do this. I may not like
Yes.
all the pictures, but then other people think, I mean, I just kept it very low key so that they wouldn't,
That's a sad part. And I feel like that's still, goes on to this day of, it's like assuming like a male forced us. And before we get to the tarnishing of the Playboy image and legacy, that's what I love about all this. It's like, no, we have the autonomy. And not only did we have the autonomy and choose it, but it feels really goddamn powerful. So I want you to take us in a little time portal, because I love the fact that we do have these generations apart, right? I think 18 or 19 to 2018, 2019. Again, you're Miss December 82 and in the 90s. So talk to me, like, bring me back to these shoots, like despite the Pat Benatar hairdo and that autonomy, and like in the moment of those shoots, how you felt.
Well, Ken Marcus did my Jill DeVries, who was in 78, was my roommate. So we got kind of drunk off a bottle of red wine. She said, come on, I want you to come to Playboy and just see it. I'm like, no, 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 no. I get there and they've got the whole thing done. And she's like, just do a couple shots and stuff like that. And I did. And that was Saturday night. Sunday morning, I had a limo picking me up. And boom, Monday, Tuesday, we shot my Centerfold. It was like, wham, bam, thank you, man.
How did it feel
was like,
doing it in the moment? If you can even just like go back to that very day.
Scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I had a bush. And so the woman, makeup and everything else, she had to come, just stand there. And they had to cut like my bush around because it was.
No, I thought they were going to fluff the bush and the tush. That was the thing.
No, they had to cut around. It was so weird having someone,
all up in your biz. It's like you're at the gyno, but for the hottest
stand
shit
there
ever.
trying to hold a position, and she's cutting my muff, and I'm like, oh my God,
Mom. Well, it's so funny too, Charlotte, what you said about hating your hairdo, because I had been waiting for this moment with my, my feature coming out and in an anniversary issue, like beyond my wildest dreams, right? About free expression of all things, like my hill to die on. And my first reaction was like, those are the photos they chose. Like, why do they do me dirty like that? And I had to replace it with like, bitch, this is a huge accomplishment and moment. What are you even saying? So I was, because I had a female.
Just looking at it, there's, the editor, all the people, like,
the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, it's like watching any of my movies. I'm like, oh God. But it's the same thing as, you know what? We don't have the right perspective when we're looking at ourselves. But a lot of people went into picking those pictures.
Oh, so, completely. It's a whole chain. And I'm curious too, because I feel like when you were doing this, it was like we had a female photographer, and I get it. It was in line with the and no, like great experience, but it was in line with the whole like women in solidarity. We're posing all together. It's on the heels of Me Too, which made it really controversial. But I'm not going to lie, like, I feel like you were at the peak right before the whole Me Too wave. And so you guys probably had more male photographers before they tried to bring women in. And I'm thinking, like, I like the male gaze. I like the male gaze.
Alison Reynolds, I think, was the first female photographer. Yeah, they had all males. and only the big breasted women would actually, photograph. And I don't know why, but that was kind of like I what happened back then. He was like, and then I had Pompeo Poser, which I hated his photos and I didn't like him much. And, a couple other photographers that just did steady shots, like me going through Chicago, and me with Gary, who my boyfriend at that time was Gary Fencing, and he played for the Bears. And so they had shots of that and, all this stuff. And I was always like, oh, I look fat. Oh,
When that's so interesting, Charlotte, because and maybe it's just case by case, because I've had great female photographers too, but I look at some of those shots and I'm like, the male gaze is onto something. Like they just capture women in our raw sexuality that maybe we can't. We have a different way of looking at it at a more feminine gaze. And so that all that to say, it's like, I don't mind the male gaze when it comes to
everyone is more critical. We are always more critical of ourselves than other people. So it's like, yeah, I could pick apart everything, but those pictures were in there for a reason, a whole, bevy of people. So, it's not like I could stop it anyway. So,
So you were, like you said, terrified on set, as I was that day. I remember I was like clinging to my robe, and then 5 hours later, I was so liberated, you couldn't even get the robe near me. How did you feel? And how did you feel even subsequently? Like looking at it, pulling it out as a centerfold, like how did that all make you feel?
Well, back then I was like, well, since I was December, I had shot in like April or May, and they only had one slot in, oh yeah, big boob, uh so it was very surreal, because I had been modeling, but I had never modeled nude. And it took me kind of smoking pot, and I was drinking wine. So just kind of like, feathered down that huge, like, deer caught in the headlights,
That's funny. Yeah, it takes some warming up, but then it's like I said, I don't know about you, like I had, and I know you've done it so many times. But I had such a liberated pep in my step of feeling so empowered after that, like nothing could, like I would get hit by a bus and I wouldn't even feel it. I just was like, this is the coolest, best thing ever. Like I feel so
Of
powerful.
course you wouldn't feel it, you'd be dead. So
And that too, I double would not feel it.
yeah,
Quite literally. Yeah, exactly. I could now die happy. Um, Talk about, you talked about the like only the big boobed women were, and that was totally the thing of the time, right? Like I have coffee table books of, Playboy through the years, and that was like such the thing of the time. What do you think, looking at beauty now, and what like the hot thing is now that you've observed versus then?
You know, everything is cyclical. So everything comes round. And it's like I had two reductions because I had huge boobs. And the thing is, now I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I needed bigger boobs. But at the time it was like, yeah, I mean, every girl in that my whole 82s, no one had huge boobs like I did. And I guess that's why I got December, because it's like the biggest issue. But it didn't matter one way or the other. It just depended on, how you took it and everything else. And I was really shy. So it's like I was talking to actually Connie Brighton last night, and we were laughing at my first promotion. We went to Boston. It was a big car show. And all the women had to wear spandex. I mean, like up and down spandex. And I said, I don't think so. So I wore leather pants and a beautiful Gora sweater. And everyone's like, you can't do that. And even the playmate, leader or whatever, she said, you can't do that. And I went, watch me. What are you going to do? Fire me?
Mhm.
And I kind of empowered myself of taking over what I did and how I wanted to appear to people.
Yeah.
I didn't like those high boots that were all spandex. And I was like, God, it's like one trick pony. This is weird. So I kind of took it in my own hands of doing what I kind of wanted to represent myself as.
Okay.
And I rubbed a lot of people wrong, but at the same token, it's like, you take me or you don't, you know?
I could not agree more. I mean, what you're saying rings so true to me. It's like music to my ears. I mean, you don't know how much shit I get for people being, oh, you dress like that? You expect us to take you seriously? I mean, again, these are nameless troll losers on the internet, but people want you to be a type of way. And so for you to be like, actually kick rocks. And again, I'm gonna do it my way. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to stay true to yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of hubble, around of this, but if you don't stay true to yourself, then all that can affect you and change your personality and this and that. And I just wasn't willing to do it.
Well, I'm sure you got, I mean, even like with the haters, I get tenfold, 10 times more appreciation and praise of like, I love this. It empowers me to do it, empowers me to be tits and brains, and I'm sure for you got the same thing at the time. Like, this is badass. This is awesome. This is like killer, hot, gorgeous.
I just took it as my own. I wanted to make it my own and not like every other playmate, etc. I wanted to just be me. And I was not gonna stop that. I was not gonna let these people like yelling at me. No, 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 no. I'm like, yeah, F off. Go.
Yeah. Despite the hairdo, which was that a call by who on set? Was that a man or woman call? The hairdo that you didn't love?
I don't know. You know what? God, it's so long ago. I don't know, but I did know that I was like, it was a Pat Benatar, and that was like, the big thing. And I was like, I've never worn my hair like this ever. I mean, ever. And it surprised the hell out of me. But so did someone, cutting my bush too.
Exactly. Okay. You mentioned, talk about meddling, meddling with what is then the legacy. You mentioned the A&E series on Playboy. And I know my audience knows I feel a type of way about now in hindsight, all of these people trying to tarnish Hef's legacy, Playboy, not saying it was absolutely perfect, but I will always praise what it did in liberating women. And now you see all these people, like I said, even if it's the girls next door, these specials, these whatever. So what do you make of all of it? Because didn't you live at the Playboy Mansion too?
Yeah. For a couple of years, I actually moved. I was in Indiana, and I actually moved and had like my own closet in one of the guest rooms out on the wing, and had it locked because I was like every weekend, and 40 weeks of the year I was promoting and I'm like, why should I keep an apartment? This is stupid. So I had my own locked closet and everything, and at that time I didn't really have that much, so it was pretty simple. But those are such fun days at Playboy. I mean, we had so much. They made Olympics. I mean, Kim Heron, myself, Gig Gang Gal running around like crazy, goofy women. We bring up a whole thing of whipped cream. We did whippets off of it. And the butlers are going, no, you got to stop doing that. We're running around like teenagers. But you know what? That Playboy was a fanciful, fun thing, And about the A&E thing, I think that what I don't get is these women kept on working for Playboy, even though they, hated it or, So why didn't you walk away?
Charlotte, I say the same thing all of the time. It's
obviously you could have made I mean, it's like, and plus the man does not have any recourse to that. And that kind of like, when they say, kick a man when he's dead or whatever.
Hmm.
I just think it's vulgar. And, I these women work for Playboy, love to have and everything, but let's talk about all the bad times. Well, I'm trying to put together a show that I have 18 women wanting to talk about the fun and really fun stuff and glorious times.
Hmm.
I mean, we all in a microcosm of Playboy in LA. Yeah, we took our hits and went on. But at the same token, it's like, it's how graciously you take those hits and then don't, your dirty laundry later because he's not alive. He doesn't have a recourse. And I think that's wrong,
Can't even
you know?
defend himself. I love what you're saying. I always advocate for women to have, accountability and authority and to not just be these, not to say that bad things don't happen, of course, but it's like to not just be these fragile little daisies. It's like, take accountability for where you're at, what you're doing, own it, draw a line if it's too far. Pam Anderson a couple years ago, I loved her for this, but when all the Me Too stuff started too, she was like, I don't know, my mom taught me, not to go to a hotel room at late at night with an exec. It's like, right. It's sort of like common sense and having the wherewithal to make these decisions and stand grounded in your power. And, it's unfortunate to see all this happen, along the way, because it does tarnish what you said is this sort of fantastical, liberated world, as imaginative or detached or not from reality. But it definitely opens something up in people, certainly for culture, that the genie that was never put back in the bottle, in a great way. And people forget too at Playboy, all of the iconic intellectuals who were interviewed, featured, wrote in Playboy. Jimmy Carter, Malcolm X, like
in my centerfold, Howard Cosell was interviewed, and it was like
yeah.
a great interview. So I think a year later, we went to Kentucky Derby. We were in VIP. And there sits Howard Cosell, and I'm like, I always dress preppy because that's kind of me. And he's like, come here, and I said, okay. And he said, well, come on, sit down, sit on my lap. And I'm looking, going, oh fuck, oh excuse me, oh shoot.
Oh, you can say fuck. I just did.
And everyone's like going, go ahead, sure, go ahead. And he starts like, I had a shorter skirt on, and he starts rubbing my leg. I got up and I went, no fucking way. And I smacked him. And everyone's
period. Period. I'm the same way. I'm like, I'm 5'2" and I'll kick your fucking ass, right? And they're like, yes, ma'am. Yep. Like not messing with her. It's just sort of like that. It's even like an internalized boundary setting of like, I'm giving eyes and energy. Like I'm here for fun and I can be the fun, playgirl, playmate, but like also try to cross me and you'll regret it. Like,
yeah.
So with that,
I've always been of that kind of,
yes,
person.
Yes.
Like,
and they will follow. They will follow.
Yeah. Like
you will not be, you will not bode well in this. And they follow. Your book Centerfolds.
I'm sorry.
Your book Centerfolds.
Actually, it's a collection of stories. It took me about 22 years to
22 years in the making, where you talk to dozens of playmates, women, about their experiences. By the way, everybody, it is available at cbkmediallc.com. But I know that this has been such a labor of love for you. Tell me some of the stories that really stood out the most and what this really captures on the whole.
One was from Cynthia Myers, and she actually talks about the night Jay Sebring, Sharon Tate, and the other people went, and she was supposed to be in that group, and she would have been killed. And she said, I was so lucky just to say no that night. And, she would have been part of the, the whole killing. And it's a very interesting story. And Pamela and Bryant actually, God bless them both. I think 10 of the 18 or 20 playmates I have in here have passed. God bless them. And I thank them for opening up and, giving me their stories. When I first wrote it, now everyone had kind of like, yeah, I was the only one really opening up. Everyone else was, you know, afraid that Hef wouldn't let them up for parties and stuff like that. I've been 86 twice from the mansion, and I always got invited back. But
Yeah,
you
that
know,
was short-lived. That was short-lived. A bunny could make her way around those walls. Yeah.
well, one time, um, and I actually have it. There's so many stories in this book, and Hef and I were playing backgammon, and I used to be kind of a championship backgammon player, and he always tried to cheat. And I just with the cue and everything else, I said, "You can't do that." He's like, "Well, I did," and I'm like, "No," and I picked up the board and I threw it at him, and
What
I
do you
cut him
do?
right above the eyebrow. Well, I got 86. So,
Oh, he was mad.
what?
He was mad.
He was mad after I cut him on his eyebrow. And he just got up and said, "Charlotte." I'm like, "Well, what? You're cheating."
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're competitive here, Hef. That's one of my biggest regrets in my career, by the way, is that I didn't get to interview him before he passed or go to the mansion for that matter. So I'm super jealous.
Well, Cooper's trying to rebuy it at 100 million. That was just chatter I looked at. I don't know whether it's true or not, but um it's hard to follow in that man's shoes. I mean, you
Yeah,
know,
it's true.
40s
It's
and
like a moment in
50s, he
time.
developed this
Yes.
whole thing and went on with it. And Cooper, he's like 6'2" or 6'3". He's like, my son is like 6'4", and he's gorgeous. From the little kid, I thought he was just a little shit. And I was like, "Go away, Cooper, go away." He was like a little kid just
And
running around,
yeah.
But he's grown up to be such a nice young man and very, very cute. Tall, and I'm like, yeah, I'd climb that tree if I was, 30
Now,
years
oh,
younger. But
totally. Did you say your son is 6'4", or you're talking about Cooper?
no, my son is 6'4".
Oh, because
Yeah.
I'm taken, but I was gonna be like, listen, Charlotte, after this, if he's free, but hey, you never know. What are some other,
But he's younger than you, so huh.
oh, I'd be cougar status? Well,
No,
okay.
not quite. No, not quite.
Borderline.
You're right in
Yeah, exactly. So sadly, I have to let you go soon, but I just want you to have the
there.
floor for, I knew this was gonna fly. Um, have the floor for some last words. Again, your real takeaways from putting this book together and the Playboy legacy at large, what you think it means, like your big picture kind of view, your experience in it and its stamp in culture, all of it. Why it's so
Well, you know what? I have to say the big picture was really great, but then you always have, well, what if I didn't do Playboy? Would I, what life, and you always look down, the road not traveled. But, pretty often I'm like, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with where I am now. And, I'm really happy to have these women give me their stories and pictures. There are a lot of pictures in there. And yeah, it's not for below 18 because there are some nudes. But women actually tell stories that are like not what you usually hear. You know,
so
they
positive.
tell I don't know.
Empowering, fun.
Most of them are positive, but there are some stories you kind of go, well, I didn't know that. And you have to look at it for what it is. But all these women, I mean, when I was editing the book, my editor wanted to take out this. I was like, nope, because I promised each woman it would be in their words, not edited out. Well, the ums and ahs, stupid shit like that. But it would be, in their words.
I love
And
that.
every story, when I was finished with it, I, ran it back to them and they said, yeah, sounds good.
That's so badass. I cannot wait. And I hope you guys check it out again. It's cbkmediallc.com. And Charlotte, I just want to say, thank you for your service and being cemented in this iconic moment in time. I'm telling you, I did a whole Google search rabbit hole of your photos, and I was hypnotized. Like, absolutely
There's
stunning.
like 1,000 sites out there, and I'm like, what the heck, man?
Wear
You know?
it with pride, woman. I mean, and I say as a send off, maybe we showed these guys. We'll have to blur it for the No Fun Club at YouTube, but maybe for a send off, you can hold up your centerfold. I'll hold up mine again, and we'll do a cheers virtually here to our
Hold on. If I
experience
can,
and work.
I
and
always
what it
go
all means.
past it for some reason. Hold
You know
on.
what's funny is that I haven't even gone. Mine was winter 2019. I've never even read the articles or gone through this issue. So maybe one of these
Seriously?
days. I know.
Yeah, you need to get off your horse and do it. That's mine.
Here's a
And
couple. Oh, there's my oh, I'm covering. I'm censoring for you. I'm gatekeeping my little ass. Hello.
yeah, yeah, I'm just well, whatever. But
You make up for
yeah,
my I think my
my
photographer.
first the sheet that talks about you, and I put like sex, drugs, rock and roll, and everything. And Mickey Garcia was actually the Playmate promotions director at that time, and she goes, "No, do it again. You can't put this shit on there." And I was like, "Why not?"
Yeah. Well,
So
thank you so much. All your boobalicious glory. I think that my photographer was an ass girl because she did not. That's all right. I'm not. I preferred these over the booty, but you know what? Again, it's what it was. Here they are in the pages.
you know, I never had a big booty. I was a runner and a swimmer, and usually, I have long lines. I'm 5'8", just over 5'8", and I just have long lines. I never had like a booty. In high school, they called me boobs on a popsicle stick.
Listen, it
Because all I
worked
had
out.
was,
It
and then my
worked
body.
out. Those people were eating their words. I'll say that. Okay, I know you're sick of it, Charlotte, but you are the angel that is a centerfold, but you're also a little like devil rebel, which I really obviously appreciate from my rebel heart to yours. So I can't wait to see the success of Centerfold. And thank you for wearing it all with pride. We salute you.
Thank you. And, to all the women that hit stories from me in the book, and I'm actually going to do another one too. So, it's
Hey,
Centerfold, and it's actually a very enjoyable book. I mean, it's easy reading because it's not like
it's easy on the
we're not
eyes, if you will.
doing Proust or Tchaikovsky here. We're just
Yes.
Centerfold stories, and there are so many stories that people would just go, "Wow, I didn't know this." I mean, and most people, and if they buy it, they can send it to me with shipping handling back, and I will autograph it for free.
See that? The gifts keep on giving from one Charlotte Kemp. Charlotte, thank you so much. And hey, I know that I wasn't, hanging out in those glory days, but if you can tap me in any way to help out with the book or be part of or your next one, I am there like Playmate swimwear. So
I will take you up on that.
please do. Please do. Thank you, Charlotte Kemp.
Thank you, sweetheart.